My initial pottery students, we start off with hand building techniques because it's the most basic form. There's two different thoughts of school. There's hand building and then there's wheel thrown. So the beginning of class and the beginning of the year, I always start off with the most basic, which is a pinch pot. And I explain to them this kind of how pottery all began. Once people figured out that lining their baskets with mud and setting them by the fire at night, they would start to harden and they can carry more water, they can carry food. And so it's kind of an iterative process. It builds up. But this primitive process of hand building, I thought would be more exciting and more fulfilling if we also put it together with a primitive style fire. And so their first project is now culminating all in the most primitive way that we could do this safely on a larger scale for the class and the kids. We've got our hand-built pieces at the very bottom. Some of these have been wrapped in paper because you can put some extra materials in there that will cause flashing from the fire. There is red iron oxide, there's Miracle Grow, there's copper wire. We've got some Alka-Seltzer in there, and then a ton of organic matter. So all of our pots are stuffed on the bottom, and then we do a kind of like a lasagna of paper and cardboard, and then some smaller kindling, and then another lasagna layer of paper and cardboard, and then our heavier wood. And like I said at the bottom, it's sprinkled all with these extra pieces of material that are going to burn up chemically and cause a chemical reaction. As that process burns, the smoke will then kind of reduce, the fire is going to reduce, and we're going to trap the smoke that's being generated from everything that's being burned. And with those extra chemicals in there, we're hoping to catch some greens, some reds, some blues, along with everything else, the black and the gray that's going to be captured on the pots. And then after we pull those out and we give them a quick wipe off, we're going to seal them up with some floor wax, make them nice and shiny, and then we'll have a nice beautiful piece of primitive pottery that's ready for the mantelpiece. So these are some finished pieces that we pulled out of the pit fire earlier. As you can see, they've absorbed smoke and other particles that were burning from all the organic stuff, plus the chemicals that we put in there. This has got some red iron oxide and stuff on it. And this is some copper wire that we left on it to do some extra work. But after you get done with this, after you pull them out of the fire, you don't want to scrub them much, because if you scrub them, then you're going to get rid of a lot of the staining and a lot of the smoke you have. So instead, I like to take a soft brush and quickly brush off all the immediate ash that I see. Some of it will be clung on there a little bit more, and some might even kind of scar the pot, but personally I think that just adds more to the character of the pot, and it really shows that it went through the firing process. It wasn't gentle on it at all, and I think that that's something kind of important about these pieces, is it was forged 100% in fire. But so I've got most of the ash taken off of this piece now, and here comes the fun part, is where some Rejuvenate or any of your acrylic floor polish comes in handy here. You load up like a super soft cloth, try not to spill it all over the place like I just did, and then you just start to kind of work this into the pot. First, I would add this very small layer here where I'm partially just dabbing it on. Once again, if you start to brush this too much or scrub this, you're going to start to take away some of your coloration, or you're going to start to kind of muddy it. So if you dab this first application on, then after it absorbs and starts to seal, it'll lock in most of the staining or the color that you've got on your pot, and that will allow you to go back in your future pieces or your future layers and start to actually buff these pieces to a shine. And so as I'm rounding the end of this first layer, you can see it's starting to kind of take in that wax. It doesn't look like much now, but if you continue on with this for probably 3 or 4 more layers, and then you take another dry cloth and you start to really buff it, you will eventually end up with a piece that looks similar to this, where it has a nice shine and it is completely sealed in the patina that has been achieved from the firing process. So it's a really nice way to finish off a piece of pottery, especially if you have what I like to call glaze fright and you're afraid of choosing a color after you've made a form. This is the best way to do it when you just let the fire do all the work for you.